On a freezing morning in the snow-covered wilderness of Montana, Emma Foster's life changed forever. When she first told people she had saved a dying bear, no one believed her. "You're crazy. Wild animals don't understand kindness," they warned. But 2 years later, when that same bear walked out of the forest and did something so extraordinary in front of dozens of witnesses, every single person who had doubted her was left speechless. This story began in early 2022 when Emma was on her way to her small grocery store. The crisp morning air was filled with the sounds of nature, but suddenly a deep, agonizing cry echoed from the forest. It was a sound so raw with pain that it made her stop in her tracks. Everyone in bear country knows three golden rules. Never go into the forest alone. If you hear an animal crying, walk the other way. Never, under any circumstances, get close to a grizzly bear. That morning, Emma broke all three rules. Curiosity mixed with concern led her steps toward the sound. She pushed through the snow-covered trees and saw a heartbreaking sight. A massive grizzly bear, struggling for its life. Blood stained the snow beneath it, and its back leg was caught in a metal trap, one likely set by illegal hunters. The bear, though large enough to kill a human with a single swipe of its paw, was weak. Its breathing was shallow, and its eyes, clouded with pain, met Emma's. Most people would have called wildlife officers and walked away, letting professionals handle the situation. That would have been the smart, safe thing to do. But Emma knew that by the time help arrived, the bear would already be dead. She took a deep breath, knowing that what she was about to do could cost her life. Something unspoken passed between her and the bear at that moment. It wasn't just an injured animal. It was a life hanging by a thread. Emma made a choice that would not only save the bear, but create one of the most remarkable animal stories ever told. A dangerous rescue. With her heart pounding, Emma ran back to her store. She grabbed a first aid kit, blankets, and all the meat she had in her freezer. Her hands trembled as she packed everything into a backpack, knowing that every second counted. When she returned, the bear was still there, its dark eyes locked onto hers. Emma started speaking in a calm, gentle voice, the way she would to a frightened animal. "It's okay, big guy. I'm here to help," she whispered. The bear didn't move, only watching as she slowly approached the trap. She inched closer, knowing that if the bear perceived her as a threat, it could end her life in an instant. But something incredible happened. The bear stayed still, as if it understood she was trying to help. Emma examined the wound. The metal teeth of the trap had cut deep into its flesh, and the cold had made the metal stick to its skin. Releasing the trap without causing further pain would be difficult. Using a long stick, she carefully pressed the release mechanism. With a loud snap, the trap opened. The bear let out a deep, pained groan but didn't attack. Emma's next challenge was even more dangerous: treating the wound. She knew touching a wild bear's injury was the riskiest thing she had ever done. Yet she soaked a cloth in warm water and antiseptic, and inch by inch began cleaning the wound. The bear flinched but remained calm, only letting out soft grunts as she worked. Hours passed as Emma cleaned the wound, applied medicine, and wrapped the leg in bandages. She left pieces of meat near its head and covered the bear with blankets to keep it warm through the freezing night. She had done everything she could. Now all she could do was wait. A bond that defied nature. That night, Emma barely slept. Every hour she checked on the bear through her window, shining a flashlight to see if it was still there. To her relief, the next morning the bear was awake, weak but alive. For the next 5 days she made the same journey, bringing food, changing bandages, and talking to the bear. She saw life slowly return to its eyes. On the 6th day, something miraculous happened. The bear stood up. It was shaky, unable to put much weight on its injured leg, but it was standing. Emma watched in awe as the massive creature took its first few steps. Then for a brief moment, the bear turned and looked at her. In its eyes, she saw something impossible: gratitude. By the end of the week, the bear had regained enough strength to leave. Emma knew this was how it should be. Wild animals belong in the wild. That morning, she brought food one last time. The bear ate, looked at her for a long moment, then slowly limped back into the trees. Emma thought that was the end of their story. The bear was healed, and life would return to normal. But life had bigger plans. Over the next 2 years, hikers and rangers occasionally reported seeing a large male grizzly in the area. This bear, they said, was different. It seemed to observe people from a distance, but never showed aggression. It had a distinctive limp in its back leg and a patch of lighter fur where the wound had healed. Each time Emma heard these reports, her heart raced. Could it be her bear? She told herself not to be foolish. Wild animals don't remember people. They don't feel gratitude. At least that's what science said. But 2 years later, on a sunny morning in June, that same bear would prove everyone wrong. It happened in front of dozens of witnesses at Emma's grocery store. The bear did something so extraordinary, so unbelievable, that even the most skeptical wildlife experts were left speechless. An act that would challenge everything we think we know about animals: their memory, their intelligence, and their capacity for gratitude. 2 years after Emma had saved the injured grizzly, life in her small Montana town had settled into its usual rhythm. The seasons had come and gone, and though she occasionally heard reports of a large male grizzly with a limp, she had never seen him again. That changed on a quiet morning in June. Emma was outside her grocery store, arranging fresh fruit on the wooden stands, enjoying the warm summer sun. It was a perfect day. Kids rode their bikes down the street, tourists took pictures of the mountains, and locals chatted on the porch of the store. It was peaceful, until a young boy screamed. Emma turned and saw it. A massive grizzly bear emerging from the tree line, walking toward the store. Panic erupted. Parents grabbed their children, tourists ran for their cars, and someone yelled for Emma to get inside. But she didn't move. Her heart pounded in her chest as she recognized the bear. It was larger now, its fur thick and glossy. But she knew those eyes. And there, the slight limp in its back leg, the faint scar on its fur. It was him. People were shouting, car doors slammed, and someone had already called the local wildlife officer, Tom. But Emma stood frozen, watching. The bear stopped about 30 feet away from her. The town fell into an eerie silence. Then, in a moment so surreal that even those who witnessed it still struggled to believe it, the bear lowered its head. And for the first time, everyone saw what it was carrying. A tiny bear cub. Gas rippled through the crowd. Male grizzlies were known to kill cubs, not protect them. And yet, this enormous beast was carrying a cub toward a human. Emma's breath caught in her throat. The bear gently placed the cub on the ground, then lifted its head and looked at her. It was unmistakable. It remembered. It had once been a helpless, injured animal in need of help. And now it was bringing another, trusting Emma, just as she had once helped him. Wildlife Officer Tom arrived, tranquilizer gun in hand, but he hesitated. No one knew what to do. No one had ever seen anything like this. Emma swallowed hard and took a slow, careful step forward. The bear didn't move. Another step, then another. When she reached the cub, she could see it was weak, possibly injured. Slowly, she knelt down and lifted it into her arms. The moment the cub was safe, the big bear stood up. It gazed at her for a long, silent moment. Then, with a grace that seemed impossible for such a giant predator, it turned and walked back toward the forest. At the tree line, it stopped and looked back one last time, and then it disappeared. The entire event had been captured on video. Within hours, it spread across the internet like wildfire. News stations played the footage over and over. Scientists and wildlife experts from around the world debated what had happened. Was this proof that wild animals could remember acts of kindness? Could they feel gratitude? Could they trust? Emma didn't need a scientist to tell her what she already knew. The bear had remembered. The orphaned cub, later named Hope, was taken to a wildlife rehabilitation center. Thanks to Emma's quick response, it survived. As for the big male grizzly, sightings of him continued for years, but he never again approached humans so closely. He had done what he needed to do. He had repaid a kindness. A small plaque now stands outside Emma's store. It tells the story of the woman who saved a dying bear, and how years later that bear came back to trust her once again. The inscription reads, "Sometimes the greatest acts of kindness come full circle, and sometimes love and gratitude speak a language all living creatures can understand." Even today, experts argue about what happened that morning. But for those who were there there is no doubt. They saw a bear remember kindness, and they saw it return that kindness in the most unbelievable way. Emma's story is a reminder that no act of kindness is ever truly forgotten, not by people, and perhaps not even by the wildest of animals.